The Lenovo P2 is a very interesting tab phone because first of all, huge screen, 5.5-inch aluminum unibody and especially a gigantic battery, 5100 milliamps. So in this video, I'd like to introduce to you the P2, tell a little bit about the specifications and I first test results for you, of course, including the battery runtime. Yeah, but let's stick for a moment with the design and the optics and the haptics because I really love that, very classy with this aluminum. This is really one piece of metal going around the edges here. The only thing that's plastic is on the lower and the upper end here, these two stripes for the antenna signals, of course, to go in and off somewhere. So let me show these edges here. I really love that design, looking very classy. But on the other hand, aluminum completely. So it's really heavy, 180 grams. So you know what you're having in the palm. But this is very stable on the other hand. So I'm always trying to make these tests here to feel, or even maybe here is there some creak or cracks, but that's definitely not the case. And almost nothing movement here to be felt. So kind of like a brick, I'd say, and especially you do not see any black or white dots here where the glass would press down onto the panel and maybe damage pixels during time. So this one is really stable, a really high crafting quality. This is a mechanical home button here if you're somewhere else, and of course fingerprint sensor. I would prefer on the back side, to be honest, because especially with these huge phones you grab it like something like that. So and now try to reach the fingerprint sensor. So you go like that, then maybe it's tilting here and even dropping. So that's way better, I'd say, on the backside. But in that case, let's turn a blind eye on that because of the price coming at the end of this video. So housing is okay. Display. This is Super AMOLED, meaning you have these extremely high contrast and great viewing angle stability. An LCD panel is just dreaming of, even if it's dual domain IPS. So this is brilliant, especially because it's very bright. I measured in the middle of the screen here up to 550 nits. That's 38% above the average, at least for OLEDs. And when you have bright daylight, for example, you have that brightness sensor here, that's front camera, coming to that a little bit later. And so if you have direct sunlight, then the sun booster is going on up to 550 nits. If you are in not so bright surroundings like closed rooms or whatever, it goes up to 338 nits. And then this is completely enough. You do not have to consume too much power for that one. Resolution is 1080 by 1920 pixels, coming to a density, a sharpness of 402 ppi. That's not too much, that's 5% below the average, I know, but look at these text here, not too big, so you can read them. It's absolutely okay, in my opinion. I love this display. I love the housing, of course. I love the price. Coming to this a little bit later. So it's the first impression is a very good one. Cameras. Like I told you on the front here, this is a 5 megapixels camera shooting videos in full HD. On the back side, 13 megapixels photos, videos also in full HD. And this is a two-tone flash here in two colors. If you want to, you can have a little bit white display or a little bit colored display here for front selfies. If it's really dark, it's not so much. In most cases, just a handful of lux, but nevertheless, it's better than nothing in complete darkness. Do not count too much on that one, but I wanted to tell you, of course. Yeah, and the processor. In that case, it's a Snapdragon 625, meaning mid-class. You have 8 cores and 2.0 gigahertz. The Adreno 506 for the graphics module and especially 4 GB of RAM for that price, so that's okay. And with that, you see here, you do not have, you have this fluid scrolling and everything and through the pages, but it's a mid-class processor. So in the benchmarks, I promised you all the information I already have concerning the processor performance. That's more than 50 values I'm gathering from 15 several benchmarks, and in the overall ranking, the P2 is now 6% above the average. That's okay. Like, for example, Sony Xperia X or the Zenfone 3, for example, with the very same processor. So it's okay. Or let me show you, maybe it's starting quickly. Yeah, perfectly. I wanted to present you here this little game that's Dead Trigger 2. Not because of the game, just to show you how fluid this one is. Because 6% above the average doesn't sound too much, too good. And this is maximum quality here. And I already tested that in advance, of course, with the game bench. So you can measure, if you play, how the average frames per second rate is. And in that case, you have 55 out of maximum of 60 frames per second. So this is kind of okay, I'd say. Okay, there are some that make really up to 60 frames per second, but you have to pay more in most cases of that. So this is a very good compromise, I'd say, even for advanced gamers who want to have a good gaming experience. And if you're just playing Angry Birds or whatever, it's no problem at all. This is really graphically one of the most advanced, as far as I know, graphically advanced games here. So absolutely okay for the processor and that price, I'd say. Memory, internal, you have that hybrid slot here, so you can insert a second nano SIM if you want to, or a micro SD card. And internal memory is 32 GB, leaving a net of 21.8. That's the value you should calculate with, almost 22 GB here. You can use, that's also okay for that price. And you have, of course, 4G, dual say HSPA, even Wi-Fi AC and NFC and everything you want to. And I told you already, aluminum unibody, fingerprint sensor. And the last thing I want to show you here is that little button over there, because if you turn this on up here, something has happened like that, ultimate power save, and you see how the battery, the expected battery runtime is going up here once more, going to regular, and in that case you can do only the things you prepared here, so you have that dark backlight, you know, AMOLED, meaning not lit from the backside, but the pixels glow for themselves, so black is completely off, do not need any power, consume any power. So this is a thing, if you say, okay, it's evening, I have to be available at least via the phone and do not need all the other things. You can have that extreme power save mode with just one click. It's really interesting feature here. Yeah, with that, just one little view into the internal settings here, because I wanted to show the Android version that's delivered with 601. Do not ask what's about updates. I even not know if there is someday coming this Android 7 Nougat one day. And you see here, this is Android security patch level from October. This video is recorded at the end of December, so quite some delay, but it's a new one. Let's see how this is turning out. At least the security patches, I hope so, let's knock on wood, are coming on a regular basis. But the updates to Android Nougat would be good, but I cannot promise. I do not have any information for you. I'm sorry for that, because of all the manufacturers do not tell so much about their plans concerning the upgrades. Yeah, it's available right now in most of the markets, and I promise the price, at least in Germany, Europe, it's $349, including tax, without any contract. So this is kind of an interesting, because street prices will go in the direction to 300 euro, I guess. So quite interesting, especially for the battery. I told you 5,100 milliamps. I tried to check that out with this little app here, and this is telling me 5,000, but never mind. First of all, 100 milliamps, do not mind. And especially the difference can come always because you can have communicated from the battery the lower, the typical, or the upper, the maximum capacity. And I guess this is the maximum, this is the typical. But the only thing that counts is the result of the battery runtime test. And that's, for me, always full HD video on 200 candela in flight mode. And with that, we have a result of 1,048 minutes. 1,048 minutes. And here comes the interesting feature. That's 109% above the average, meaning more than double the runtime than usual. At least for me, of all phones I've ever tested, this is my new number one. I know there are some out with 6,000, 7,000 milliamps, but I can't get them here in Germany, Europe, unfortunately. I would love to present them and test them, of course, but these manufacturers do not send me any devices here for testing them, unfortunately. I hope they will do in the future. We will see. But for the moment, this is one of the best I ever heard of, and I know, and especially for all the guys of you that are getting in trouble with their smartphones in the evening, I am pretty sure even the most heavy users will come through the day with this test result. That's enough for the moment. I hope so, at least for first impressions here from the Lenovo P2. The complete test is always following as text on my website mobiwatch.net as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. Please be so kind to vote for this video. Maybe you even leave a sub and your opinion in the comments. Thanks for that in advance. Take care and bye.